Tower Defense X has an endless game mode, full of brutally difficult zombies and packed with a ton of boss fights. Every wave, things get substantially harder and harder and harder, until by wave 80 you're dealing with this. I was curious, which tower can go the furthest by themselves? One tower slot, no support. But little caveat, doing this normally is not very feasible or entertaining at all. Like pretty much everything would just die instantly. So I used the admin panel to run each of these attempts with an infinite supply of cash, putting aside cost efficiency and economics to purely test the raw strength of each tower, starting with the weakest and ending with the strongest. And let me say, some of these results were quite surprising. The first one wasn't though. It's a support unit, you know, it can't really do anything at all, even with infinite money. I was able to get some kinda cool looking footage at least, but I was only able to tank 2 waves worth of zombies.
Hello, I like money.
Farm can kind of fend for itself. The top path eco crates will provide both money and extra health for your base. When I did this challenge for the regular game a while back, Farm was actually able to make it pretty far. I think it was around like wave 23 or 24 if I remember correctly. But even the beginner zombies in Endless are much tougher. I mean, you have the mutant scientist with 750 HP by wave 7. That's not fair. I ended up surviving 6 waves. This tower is literally the only offensive tower in the entire game to have no hidden detection at all on either path. So the hidden zombies, which are pretty much a piece of cake for everything else, are invincible. Now you can cheese some stealth kills with the bomb pass flamethrower splash damage, but it's like trying to patch a boat hull with flex tape, it just doesn't work. Patrol Boat only ended up clearing 15 waves.
You can play as Ice Neck. Ice Neck, ladies and gentlemen.
This might be the most forgettable tower in the game. It's the first and so far only event tower, but it's sort of just an upgraded themed variant of the starter Ranger tower. I mean, it's in the name, bet you didn't notice that. It follows the same upgrade scheme as Ranger, even getting a grenade ability with ice effects. And I mean, yeah, with infinite money, any attacking tower can shoot through the early game easily. But I ran into a bit of a challenge with this tired looking zombie called the Guardian. The problem is, this dude has a 100% immunity to freezing attacks, so the Cryo Ranger can't do any damage to it. This wave is completely impossible. 16 waves is the final count for Cryo.
Ice is nice.
This tower runs into the exact same wall with the Guardian, but there's kind of a catch. Like, it can stall a zombie pretty much indefinitely, and you could continue making progress, but the results screen only counts a wave is cleared when you kill every zombie from that wave. So it makes literally no difference. Cryo will always get capped out at wave 16. Kind of funny, I had to sell my towers so I could actually lose properly here. I've always had a soft spot for spawning towers. I used to be a melee-based main back in 2020 TDS, but there's a pretty major issue with this tower and the one that follows. They respectively have solo placement limits of 7 and 6. The vast majority of TDX towers don't have a placement limit. In fact, there's only 4. The farm earlier was also capped out at 10, and there's another tower coming up later that also has a limit. This is done to prevent massive lag. Like, it'd be pretty performance intensive to have 500 tanks on screen at once. For this challenge though, it really limits the tower. I split between top and bottom paths for both flamethrowers and railgunners, but against zombies like the armored tank, they couldn't hold the line. I barely managed to reach the first boss, but the Barracks just had no chance at all to take out the Plague Doctor. A wave 24 finish. I like this tower, probably even more than Barracks. My favorite vehicle is actually the level 3 MRAP, which is sick. As with Barracks though, you can only play 6 of these in a solo match, so the power level stagnates very quickly. Still, I had better luck with the Plague Doctor. Okay, yeah, so bosses. Endless mode does an interesting thing, and the mode reuses the bosses from each of the 4 regular modes, and intersperses them across the first 40 waves. Heading into the 50s and beyond is where the entirely unique bosses make their first appearances, and ruin thousands of players' lives. But you know, this is wave 25, this is a Plague Doctor, look at this goober, what a noob. Armored Factory was able to roll over him and become the first tower to beat a boss. Things went downhill pretty quickly after that. The revived version of the boss barely had time to flash its health bar before I died to the spam. So, Armored Factory ends with 28 waves cleared. The two upgrade paths for this tower are drastically different, with bottom path having more damage, but requiring that you manually aim the tower's shots yourself, which can be pretty distracting to say the least, while top path will automatically fire and track enemies, but does less DPS to compensate. So in this match where I had infinite money, obviously top path was the better play, so I wouldn't have to micromanage everything. I got an army of bottom paths. Listen, this way was funnier, okay? And I didn't have to aim much anyways at the start. I just decimated everything, up to the revived Plague Doctor. I'm seeing a little bit of a problem here. This is really quite bad what I'm seeing here. Oh boy. That did not quite work out as I had hoped. I got a recon drone though. Since release, this tower got completely remade and reworked, with each path gaining a unique ability. The shotgunner's abilities are both more supportive in nature. Top path is healing, bottom path is stun cleansing. Neither of those were very helpful here. The problem was the tower's range. Even when a bunch of them spammed, they didn't have much coverage. And by the time the revived Plague Doctor pushed past the front of the map, all that remained in his way was this one single shotgunner. Which yes, I only placed down for dramatic effect. I lost right after. Wave 29 finish.
Gas, the gas will start flowing.
You know, it's always kind of bothered me that this tower's name has that C in there, like, really it should be Toxicnator flat, right? This is more of a support tower. It uses gas attacks to debuff enemies and help with crowd control. My main strategy for killing the bosses was to just spam the ability of the bottom path, which deals a bit of chip and makes the boss take more damage, and pray. That let me just about take out the Plague Doctor, however his revived form came back with a vengeance, and added another tower to his kill list. Wave 29 again. This tower gives me like Lego City Prisoner vibes with the fit he got. I didn't really think much of this tower until I tried it out in some normal Ennis mode runs I did, and honestly it's pretty good. The bottom path really shines with its stun grenades, as it can seriously stall out major enemies and give your DPS towers more attacking time. It doesn't do as well on its own though. I mean, I steamrolled the regular waves, and I straight up removed the Plague Doctor from the match, but classic revived Plague Doctor ruined my fun. That stun mechanic, which is so great, doesn't affect bosses, which really sunk me here. I promise this is the last Wave 29 death. Second last.
Let me see your war face. Sir, you got a war face?
For being the free starter tower, Ranger's DPS isn't terrible. Like low-key, it kind of cooked up the Plague Doctor here. It's also super cheap, which is annoying actually, really annoying. Listen, I'll address something here that also applies to the rest of the video. The most optimal way to play all of these runs would have been to max out the placement limit and get 140 towers every time. I didn't want to do that. It takes like 9 key presses per placement. That adds up. I'm not trying to get carpal tunnel syndrome by age 20, okay? I chose to keep things a bit more chill and loose with this video. Mostly. I did still get in a large army of Rangers and forced an extra couple of waves, but the revived Plague Doctor ended his final run. 29 waves. Woohoo!
I am Quincy, son of Quincy.
This tower is pretty cool. It's solid for the regular modes, but it feels very power crept and endless. This was the first tower to take down the revived Plague Doctor, but it kind of felt like a hollow victory when I immediately lost the very next wave. Sniper ends with 30 waves cleared. One of this tower's big strengths is its bottom path ability, where it can spawn a track going jeep. So my strategy was pretty much to just fill this entire block of the map with as many operators as possible, and then just constantly spam their abilities to make up for their lackluster DPS. Which kind of worked. It was really annoying to have to click through all of them repeatedly like this. This tower just couldn't handle the bulky zombies. Even spamming jeeps as fast as I could, operator only managed to take out the boss and clear 30 waves. My goat is washed. The John Tower's most notable characteristic is its top path damage buff ability. Or so Big Paradoxum wants you to believe. In this situation though, I was more drawn to its bottom path axe ability, because after a little bit of playtime I kinda realized, with infinite money and a bit of micro, this ability can really wreak some havoc. By wave 30, I'd set up a bit of a defense line, and I just used the abilities as the boss walked along, which actually worked. Things got a little dicier in wave 35 though. Yeah, this is where the Eradicator and the Predators show up, which are a pretty big step up from the Plague Doctor. This is also the first wave where these avatar enemies spawn. These appear around midway along the path, they just airdrop in, which is mega annoying, as it forces you to invest in solid back defense. And while I was distracted, trying for the axe micro of my life on the Eradicator here, I lost to an off-screen avatar. So yeah, wave 34 finish. Did you ever notice that this tower has kind of headphones? No? Why am I bringing this up? Because for the early game, my headphone jack kept bugging out and doing this. I really need to buy a new computer. Gameplay wise, you know, it's laser gunner, it's good. I will say, it does feel kind of power crept by the other stronger DPS towers that come up later. Like around 100 DPS just wasn't really cutting it as I got into the mid game. And again, despite trying my absolute hardest, I fell to the Eradicator in a wave 34 finish.
You want me to explode?
Yes, that's what I've been waiting.
More like mid layer, am I right? This guy only did good because of the infinite money. Like, yes, that's true of every tower here, but it's especially true for this guy. I give him no credit. I got a mix of both paths. The mine's melted bosses, he actually managed to clear wave 35 and take out the Eradicator, but fast forwarding to wave 40 and the Eradicator Mark II, this is a pretty tough boss to be fair, and mine layer capped out here. He didn't even get close to breaking the boss's shield. So that's a total of 39 waves completed.
Because the pie you ate was a bomb.
I didn't realize until this, but at some point this little guy actually got a bit of an idle animation. That's neat. Obviously, what really helps Missile Trooper is the splash damage. It can tear through hordes. Bosses, a little trickier. I had to spam a ton of bomb paths just to take out the Eradicator, and the Mark II in wave 40 just rolled right through me. Respectable wave 39 finish.
I am heavy weapons guy.
The iconic, damage-heavy archetype, Juggernaut. Also, little fun fact, this is one of the earliest towers, which you can really tell from these upgrade icon renders. They're lower quality, they don't fill the frame, they have this weird glow on them. The modern ones are genuinely leagues better. I didn't have much of a game plan here, this tower doesn't have any interactive ability or a lot of path variation. I just spam bottom path because more DPS. However, this tower is the first of the video to actually clear the Erad Mark II, and 10 waves later, it's also the first tower to face a new challenger, the Eradicator Mark IV. Whole new model, it's like Apple with the iPhones. This is the first in a line of 4 much tougher, stronger bosses that populate the later waves of Endless Mode. And I mean, compared to them, this guy isn't so bad. He has some standard rocket-like attacks to target and kill your towers, but no crazy BS gimmick. I got some backup Juggernauts, but it was looking... never mind. This boss has a special low health phase where it sheds its armor and just sprints towards your base entrance, which is a pretty effective tactic if you really think about it. He beat out my Juggernauts here, and I lost by about 20,000 HP. I definitely could have beat him with a couple more towers down, but it is what it is. Wave 49 finish. You wouldn't think this tower would fare too well solo since its whole thing is slow, high damage, single target shots. And you'd be kinda right. Luckily though, there was a solution. I just placed the full 140 of them. Please subscribe and please leave a like. I opted for a lot more top paths over bomb paths because top path is a slow fire rate, bottom path is snail-like. Railgunner demolished the first set of bosses, the Plague Doctors and the basic Erads, but the problem started around wave 50. The boss itself was a piece of cake. I was actually able to take out the Mark IV with fairly little trouble and send him flying straight off the path, but in the following waves, the spam of all these bulky shielded enemies really started to overwhelm the towers. These Herculeans pushed really far in wave 52. The anti-golems shortly afterwards weren't too bad, but the run was ultimately ended by the super speedy Beyblade zombies, the Ravages, meaning Railgunner finished with a record of 54 waves, kind of a weird number. This is one of 2 Golden Tower variants currently in the game. If you play Tower Battles or TDS, then you pretty much know how these guys work. They're mega buffed up versions of their normal selves. So Ranger, the free starter tower, becomes a powerhouse with over 300 DPS. I mainly went for top path because, I don't know, I just did. Bottom path is a stunning grenade build. I actually sweated this one out again and placed a maximum of 140 towers heading into wave 50. The Mark IV gave me a bit of a rough start. Actually, I don't think he did. I think I just kind of wrote that line. But I did have enough forces in the back to send the boss flying. The waves leading up to 60 were pretty slow and grindy. There were no weak enemies left. But Golden Ranger had the power and fire rate to surpass Railgunner. And I did manage to reach wave 60, where I had to face the Eradicator combat variant. This boss is a massive weasel. He has 1.1 million health. So at first you're like, okay, that's not too bad, that's not too much of a jump, I can definitely take him. He has deadly abilities of course, but surely. My Golden Rangers were doing pretty good DPS, and with plenty of track left the boss fell under 300,000 health. Except, after that... he healed himself back up to full health and summoned a shield. This boss sucks. There's something really frustrating, even when you know it's coming, about seeing that number get so low and then just instantly refill itself. I didn't really get much accomplished after that. He massacred my backup rangers and just leisurely strolled to the exit. A wave 59 finish.
Why are we on a Fire Nation ship?
Battleship, my beloved. This tower is insanely powerful, fitted out with turrets, cannons, more turrets and cannons. Of course, the big catch is that it's a water unit, and it takes up a massive amount of space. Luckily, there is a map with a ton of naval space to fit them all on. Oil rig. The first 49 waves were incredibly free. The Eradicator Mark IV was annoying, because he has this cannon ability, which can straight up one-hit KO battleships. That's a lot of government funds down the drain. Still, the raw DPS of Battleship was just insane, and they were able to take out the boss. I set some of the ships to random targeting to spread out the splash damage somewhat, and I coasted all the way to wave 60. This was around the point placement space began to get pretty tight, and I had to start placing my battleships really far out. I got my rematch against the Eradicator combat, and the DPS difference was crazy. I forced his full heal pretty early on. He still managed to push surprisingly far after that, but Battleship's cross-map range really came up clutch. Continuing into the 60s, I was feeling very good about my chances. It was looking like the only thing that could potentially stop me was the wave 70 boss, the Apex Predator, or a disconnect, because my internet died here in wave 62. So I had to run the game back, go through all those 60 waves again. That was fun. I made it a couple of waves further and things were looking okay. I have to call special attention to wave 66. This wave is really weird. In between all these endless mode hordes, this wave just spams a bunch of avatars, alongside one of these Eratidog enemies. Cutest death machine in the game. Warship was still able to handle it though, and the other waves were light work. So after all that, it was time for wave 70, and the Apex Predator, the second strongest boss of the game mode with 1.5 million HP, and a lot of shield. Battleships chewed through the Predator summons quickly, but things began to spiral from there. The Apex Predator was able to easily one-shot my battleships, and let me tell you, it is extremely difficult to replace the battleship when it has this giant placement footprint, and the space around it is all occupied as tightly as I could get it when I was initially placing the tower, especially as I'm stressing and trying to watch what other ships the Apex Predator is thinking in the meantime. And even when I did get replacements down, the Apex Predator would just kill them 15 seconds later. I also have to give a big warm shout out to these hunter minions over here, with 300,000 health and a 95% shield stat. Woohoo, give it up for these guys, great. To be honest, I got rocked. I didn't even manage to break past the Apex Predator's shield, and I ended up losing to the hunters, ending on wave 69. Please don't, it's not funny. This is one of my favorite towers in the game. Design wise, it's just sick. And as you can tell by its placement here, it's also very strong. Top path opts for a simple DPS, bomb path gets explosive missiles. And I mean, the tower is absolutely chewing through the first bosses. Even without every tower placed, the Plague Doctor got melted in 6 seconds, the Revived Plague Doctor 10 seconds, the Eradicator 26 seconds, the Eradicator Mark II 37 seconds, the XMW was shredding everything. On wave 37, I hit the tower's placement limit of 40. To keep it real, I didn't know this tower had a placement limit at all. That was kind of surprising to me. But I still easily made it to wave 50, where Mark IV barely reached the path's overlap before breaking into his running phase. And he got cooked. I actually went AFK for a bit here, to go eat a bowl of cereal or something. I don't remember exactly what I was doing here, but after 10 more waves, I got back literally just in time to see the XMWs take out the Eradicator combat. Haha, LLL, make more shields, bozo. Following this point though, the waves started to get a lot tougher. Again, there's all the stuff from the battleships run to face here, wave 66 with all the avatars, the other wave stuff. But XW still pulled through, and as a way to finish up wave 69, I knew the only outcome here would be either a quick and painless Apex Predator kill, or another brutal wave 70 loss. Or the multiplier enemy on wave 69 ending my run before I could even get to fight the boss because for some reason this tiny guy is almost 2 million health and I couldn't finish him off. What? That's what I get for playing the suboptimal funny cow map, I guess. This was legitimately annoying, and I was not going to run through all that again on a longer map just to kill that one multiplier and then probably lose to the Apex Predator anyways. I ran it back, went to a different map, killed the multiplier, and fought the Apex Predator anyways. What can I say? There were several advantages XMW had over the Warship in this boss fight. The main one being just that it shoots fast, which really helped counter those hunters' stupid 95% damage shielding stat. I was actually able to take out all the hunters pretty quickly, and the Apex Predator was the only threat left. Of course, he kills your towers pretty hard, but that actually plays into another strength of XMW Turret. When it dies, it's able to rebuild itself and continue attacking after a brief cooldown. Pretty based if you ask me. The Apex Predator's health isn't outrageously high once you get past the shield. I mean, it has less base health than that stupid Wave 69 multiplier, that's still crazy. So after a bit more back and forth, I was honestly really happy to just get past 70, but obviously I was still gonna push as far as possible. I was no longer able to place any more towers, so my power level remained pretty static. But still, even against the mid-wave 70s packed with tanky zombies, XMW Turret prevailed. And I actually managed to reach the final boss of Endless Mode, Asterisk, the Calamity, a hellish monster with 6.6 repeating million HP. A zombie from a whole other planet, a whole other celestial plane. But I mean, I had XMW Turret, and honestly, things were looking not all that bad. Nope, they were bad, I was just being facetious. The Calamity used an ability to spawn a flood of these adversary enemies. And I mean, I do say that pretty often, a flood of zombies. This was legitimately a level 3 tsunami, natural disaster survival. To be very genuine here, I had no chance at all to defeat this wave. There were just way too many zombies. And especially with that 40 tower placement limit, the power creep was too much. Still, a wave 79 finish is pretty nuts, but not as crazy as... This is the most expensive tower in the game, and the most powerful. It sports a whopping 1500 DPS on its bottom path, and with a huge amount of health, range, plus an ability to power up its damage output, I knew this tower would give me my best shot to take out the Calamity. I ran back the same long map, I had to go full sweat mode here. I filled up the map with a full 140 towers. I cooked the regular bosses, I cooked the Mark IV, I cooked the Combat Erad, I cooked the Hunters, I cooked the Apex Predator. I sped through the following 10 waves, and I had one more shot at the Calamity. The power difference was immediately obvious. His initial full pass summon was still brutal, but by spamming as many gold Juggernaut power up abilities as I could, I was able to slowly, it was kinda lagging, slowly get through all of them. I kept spamming the abilities. I will admit this doesn't make for great looking footage, but the Calamity's health bar was just so fat. By the time I got him down to 3.6 million, he summoned again. Thankfully this time it was nowhere near as severe as that first batch, but his minions still sponged up a ton of damage. Still, I managed to take them out, and afterwards, it returned to a battle of attrition. The Juggernauts kept bringing his health lower and lower, and I knew it was going to be incredibly close. 3 million health. 2.5 million, 2 million, 1.5 million, 1 million. And then he killed all my backup towers, summoned a flood of minions, and killed me on his last 500,000 health. Great run, fun game, GG's everyone, it's over. Yeah, Gold Juggernaut ties XNW's record of wave 79, albeit with markedly more damage dealt. I'm sure this wave is beatable with better gameplay. I don't care, I'm not trying that again. I'm not doing another fake out here like I did with XMW. Again, this was meant to be more casual, more for fun. I mean, I'm using infinite money, you know, it's not serious normal gameplay anyways. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe if you aren't. Leave a like if you haven't, because that helps this video do ever so slightly better in the big wide world of the algorithm. I think I just slurred my words. And remember,